now we're doing section 3-4, example 7 and 8. So if you look at the bottom of page 113, it gives you the example 7 question. How many gallons of 2% milk does it take to yield 1 gallon of butterfat? Well, what you need to know that in a 2% gallon, you go to the grocery store, you'll see 1%, 2%, whole milk, vitamin D milk. What you're getting for that 2%, if you buy the 2% milk, is in that gallon jug, only 2% of the milk is butterfat. The remaining part of that liquid in that jug is water and other things that they've added. But only 2% of it is actually butterfat. So if you know that, when you're working your equation, remember you're always going to convert your 2%, your percents, to either a fraction or a decimal. So I'm just going to do that for you real quick right here. If I'm to do that, basically, I'm going to move that to the my decimal over to the left 2 places, and I'm going to drop my percent. So that gives me 0.02. So I've now converted that to decimal. All right. And we know that 2% of the milk is 1. And we want to know how many gallons does it take. All right, so we're going to, first of all, we've written the equation. Now we're ready to solve. We're solving for m, meaning to find out how many. And so they're multiplying this times that milk, because in that 1 gallon jug, that's all there is 2%. And we're going to divide this by 0.02. And we end up with m equals 1 over 0.02. And if you use your calculator and you divide this out, you're going to end up with 50. And so what that's saying to us is that it will take 50 gallons. If I was to separate all that butterfat out of each one of those gallons just to make up 1 complete jug of solid butterfat. Okay, this is a story problem, so you really should go back and rewrite this as a sentence. You would rewrite this as, and I won't write it here, but it is in your book. It says 50 gallons of 2% milk contains 1 gallon of butterfat. So they've written that sentence for you. Let's look at example 8. And example 8 says, this is on page 114, Miss Grandy received 17,490 of the 31,800 votes cast in election. What percent of the votes did she receive, and did she win the election? Oh, it's a 2-part question. First part is, what percent of the votes did she receive? Well, let's look at what they told us, right? Remember our percent equation? What is it? Percent of the whole equals the part. Remember that? So let's see if we can figure out how to set this up. So basically, they said that she got 1,000, right? Sorry, 17,490 votes. That's the part out of the whole, out of how many people that voted, right? So there was this many that voted. Of means times, right? And then this is the percent, which is the question, right? What percent of the voters, okay, did she get? So we've now set up our equation. I'm going to let P represent that. So P times 31,800. They're multiplying by P. We're ready to solve, right? So we're going to divide everything by 31,800. This part here is not new to you. And this, left out, so we're left with P equals, and when you divide that out, and like I said, you're using your calculator, you get 0.55. But it wants to know what percent. This is still in decimal form. So we need to make this a percent. So we're going to convert this, right, by moving the decimal over to the right 2 places, and we get 50 and adding our percent symbol. All right, because percent means 100, so that's what we've done. So she received 55% of the votes. That would be the part A question, okay? You would write that out. Okay, Ms. Grandy received 55% of the votes. But then it asks, did she win? Okay, so out of the 100%, did she win? Well, if this had came out to be 50%, then she would have, if there was only two people running, she would have tied, right? If there's several people running, then all the other people got the difference of 55 and 100, right? Went to 100, right? Minus 55, correct? It's 45. So everybody else only got 45% of the votes. So yes, she won, right? Now, if that had been a 40% or even a 49%, then I would say she lost. That's example 7 and 8, and I'm not giving you practice problems on section 3-4. I feel like percents are pretty easy. It's just a matter of knowing how to set it up into an equation and then solve.